Very good evening, fellas. Welcome to yet another episode of Perceptive Learning Zone. And today we talk about one of my favorite topics, that is cricket. And we talk more specifically about Virat Kohli's retirement, which happened somewhat I think it's been like more than 72 hours since Virat Kohli announced his retirement from Test cricket. And that is effectively an end of an era as far as millennials were concerned who grew up watching the likes of Mohammad Yusuf, Damian Martin, Michael Clark, Ricky Ponting, Virat Kohli, and all MS Dhoni. And it's a very sad moment for us, for cricketing fans all over the world, Indians, Pakistanis, everyone alike, anyone who feels a passion for the game. So Virat has announced his retirement from Test cricket, which is his favorite format. And I think we all know it must have been really hard for him to call it a day, considering how hungry he has always been to don the baggy blue for India. But I feel like it was harder for his fans to fathom that one of the legends of the game would not even get a farewell game. And social media is, as we know, it's a buzz with people paying tributes to one of the fiercest competitors in world cricket. Um, I feel like if you look at the responses, some are sad, some are angry, but what is common is the grief that each and every person carries in their hearts. Um, Kohli first played for India in red ball cricket in 2011, and while there were no doubts about his white ball prowess, the youngster was yet to prove his mettle in the purest form of cricket. And you could say that he did fairly well in the first 3 years, scoring 5 centuries. But then came the 2014 England tour, which was the most dreaded overseas tour for India's batting superstar. And I feel like things just did not go his way. And it seemed like Kohli was not made for Test cricket. But as has been the case throughout his career, he defied the skepticism. And a new Virat Kohli emerged in Australia with twin centuries in the Adelaide Test and a massive 169 in Melbourne. Kohli started his Test legacy. And it was a dawn of a new era. Virat Kohli, the Test captain. Every Kohli fan would agree that Kohli found his best when he was leading India in the Tests, and the numbers don't lie either. The 36-year-old amassed 5,864 runs at an average of 54.80 in the 68 Tests that he played as a captain. And in the 55 matches as a non-captain, Kohli scored only 3,336 runs at an average of 37.40. So his hunger, it increased manifold when he donned the captain's hat. And it not only showed in his batting, but also in his on-field vibrance and energy. And he definitely yielded results for the Indian team, winning 40 matches out of 68 that he captained. Kohli ended his reign as the captain with the third highest win percentage in Test cricket, only behind the great Steve Waugh and Ricky Ponting. He was India's most successful Test captain too. He ended India's trophy drought on Australian soil, winning the Border Gavaskar Trophy after 71 years in 2019. He was obviously the player of the final in the recent World T20 World Cup that India won, defeating South Africa by the barest of margins. And at home, India under Virat Kohli became quite invincible, winning every series. I would say more than the wins, Indian Test team had witnessed a cultural shift under Kohli. They became a team to fear with their lethal pace attack as well as aggressive batsmen. And India's infamous victory against England at the Lords in 2021 was a testament to the cultural shift they had undergone. While many brushed aside the win at Lords, calling it a fluke victory, Kohli and co were right in their face with their win at the Oval. And the Indian cricket fans were on cloud nine as one of their biggest dreams, a Test series win in England, was on the verge of coming true. But an unrest in the Indian camp meant the final match of the series was called off, and BCCI and ECB agreed upon rescheduling it for India's next trip to England. And they came back, but a lot had changed. Um, by then, Kohli was not the captain of this Indian side anymore. The fierceness was gone. Team India was dull and blunt, and England took full advantage of that, winning the match with ease. The dream was shattered and buried deep. That abrupt end to the 2021 series, it caused more harm than ever, and it went downhill from there. India lost another World Test Championship final. They were whitewashed comprehensively at home by New Zealand, and they failed to retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And nothing was working for Kohli anymore in Test cricket. A century here and there was simply not enough. The mode of dismissal, his weakness outside the off stump, it became a loop for him. And after the horrors of Border Gavaskar Trophy, Kohli admitted that he did not have one more Australian tour left in him. But little did his fans know at that time that he had virtually no gas left for Test cricket in all. Now, for a player who thumped his chest after every win and was in his opponent's face every single time, a retirement post on social media, well, it sort of felt like a betrayal. It felt as if he did not care for his fans. However, Kohli's decision to call time on his Test career will also mean several missed opportunities for the great batsman, which in retrospect might be a big case for reconsidering the call. So, number one, we talked about the elusive 10,000 runs club. Now, Virat Kohli ended his red ball career with 9,230 runs from 123 matches. He fell just 770 runs short of the coveted 10,000 run mark, a feat that has been achieved only by a few select Indian batsmen, including Sachin Tendulkar, Sunil Gavaskar, as well as Rahul Dravid. Other Test masters like Kane Williamson, Graham Smith, and Yunus Khan, they also reached the 10,000 run club. And it will be a shame, really, that Virat Kohli's name will not be there. And considering his high average, Kohli could very well have achieved the target in a couple of Test tours, but it won't be so anymore. Secondly, another missed area for him would be surpassing the record of Sachin Tendulkar. The thought of not seeing Kohli in whites again was not something that anyone was ready for. Everyone, at least the genuine cricket fans, waited for a rebound. They waited for an act of defiance and a last thump on his chest from the most decorated cricketer of this generation. But he chose to go in silence, upsetting his admirers. While everyone is still soaking in the shocking announcement, I feel it was for the best, at least for the man himself. And after all, Kohli often emphasized why he loved Test cricket. He felt that it resembled life. He felt that it tested him on every front, but he found his ways. He made mistakes, obviously, as we all do in life, but he bounced back. And at last, it was not about a fairy tale ending, but making peace with the fact that life goes on, and even the superheroes have to rest every now and then. And this one would have been a bit more difficult than simply reaching the 10,000 run club, as Tendulkar retired with 15,921 runs, which was 6,691 runs more than what Kohli had when calling quits. However, Tendulkar actually played 200 tests to achieve that figure, while Kohli had 123 tests under his belt. Also, Tendulkar played Test cricket until he was 40 years old, while Kohli retired at the age of just 36, even before other legends like Rahul Dravid, who retired at the age of 39. So, 4 more years of Test cricket, and Kohli could very well have pushed for the Master Blasters record. The third milestone that he just narrowly missed out on was the most runs in the World Test Championship cycle for India. He could have potentially become the highest run scorer for India in WTC history, and Kohli currently has 2,617 runs in the tournament, just 99 less than the top scorer, Rohit Sharma. Had Kohli, I feel, opted to continue to, even for some time more, he could have easily surpassed this mark, considering that Rohit already announced his retirement on the 8th of May. The fourth missed milestone for Kohli was maintaining an average north of 50. Now, this one will hurt Kohli fans the most because the batter once held the distinction of having 50-plus averages in all formats of the game, but will end his career with sub-50 averages in both T20 internationals as well as tests. So after a long time dip in his test form, Kohli's average dropped to 46.85 by the end of his career. And however, a few consistent performances would have pushed his average above the 50 mark, and that would have been a fitting send-off to one of the best batters in red ball history. And the final thing was the redemption against England. This one would have been a personal satisfaction for Kohli, who missed out on the 2023-2024 home series against England due to personal reasons. A chance to get back at his nemesis, which the England team have proved themselves to be time and time again, would have been too good an opportunity to pass up for the number 4 batter. But like I said, our suffering is caused by what could have been, should have been, would have been. Ultimately, it's what you make of it. And nothing takes away the fact that no matter how many missed milestones we talk about, that Virat Kohli was an absolute legend and a superstar of the game, a class act personified. An Indian team is always going to be a tale of three captains, sort of Ganguly, MS Dhoni, and Virat Kohli. Ganguly planned that team, Dhoni built it, whereas Kohli modernized it. And we're going to miss you, Virat, big time for sure. It goes without saying. And the thought of not seeing Kohli whites, the thought of not seeing Virat Kohli in whites ever again was not something anyone was ready for, not something I was ready for. And everyone, at least the genuine cricket fans, they waited for a rebound. And but I guess at the end of the day, you don't always get a fatal ending in life. And Kohli, despite all the controversies, despite all the dips in form, ultimately amassed a lot more positives than negatives. And I feel any kid, any newbie who is aspiring to become a prolific player in the international or the domestic cricket circuit, he just needs to watch some clips of Virat Kohli's peak batting highlights and discover his mojo. And it's a big thank you to Virat Kohli for all the great memories you've left us with. We'll always be delighted and we'll always be indebted to you for revolutionizing the game of cricket. And may the second innings of your life be even better than the first innings of your life. And that is all from my side for fellas. Stay blessed and have a lovely evening. Assalamu alaikum.